Hi, this is Beverly with the Intuitive Interior, and it's that time for June's I Ching reading, where each month I take a little bit of a, pulse, just a feel of what the energy is going to be for this next month. Now, my apologies, I'm actually a little bit late on this. Uh, my husband and I had COVID last week, and my voice took a little bit longer to recover than the rest of my energy levels. So whatever. I'd rather wait a couple of days and sound like a human instead of trying to record this and sounding a little bit more like a frog. So anywho, this is the deck that I like to use for these because it is a beautifully illustrated deck and has wonderful information for the 64 combinations, the hexagrams of the I Ching. We are moving into the Yang Fire Horse month. So automatically the energy is going to be different. Instead of that focus and kind of flexibility of the wood energy that we've had for the past couple of months, we're now moving into a couple of months with fire element. Yep, just in time for summer. And here in Texas, we've already been setting records or almost records for how hot it's been. Not thrilled about that part, but hey, I decided to wear my fire element shirt to commemorate this. Fire energy, the yang fire aspect of the element. Think about the sun, the bright sun. I've got my candles going here in the background, so you can really have a good visual of the fire element. Everything feels brighter. It feels more amplified. It also feels like there's even more friction than usual. But the fire, especially yang fire, is, think about you need that fire energy to really burst through the where a spot where you've been stuck, think about a rocket on a landing pad or a launch pad, not a landing pad, a launch pad, to get you out of where you had been stuck. Horse energy. We got to see if you're not familiar with it, there's Rich Strike was the come from behind long shot winner of the Kentucky Derby. I mean, it was just like, wow, the speed, the passion, the drive that takes for a horse to do that. And for the people around the horse, the trainers, the riders, the owners, the people who clean the poop up, everybody works together as a team. So, with horse energy though, it can be a little bit skittish until it's time to just go. So just wanted to give you that background of this is what we're dealing with from the month of June and part of July, because the Chinese calendar goes for this from June 6th through July 6th. When I was shuffling the deck, I was a little bit surprised that I had 4 cards just jump right out at me. Now, I typically only do a 3-card spread, but again, fire element, it just is like, fine, we're just going to go with 4. So bear with me. This one might be a little bit longer. The first card that came up was this one called Dispersion. It's number 59. And it on the trigram here. So this is just a little, the thing that the card designer does, but these are the ones that we want to look at. So you can look up card 59 online and get a lot more information if you like, but what we've got here on the bottom is the Kan trigram, that's the water one, and then on top of that is the Sun or the Yin wood trigram. Together, those create number 59. The keywords here on this are diffuse negativity, restore harmony, circulate, revitalize, dissolve divisions, and lighten up. What I like about the artwork on this is you have a flute player who is blowing this, they're singing their song, they're playing their music while the wind is blowing away a pile of leaves. I think that's a fabulous metaphor that we can all hopefully take a little bit of from, that we nothing is permanent. And when you have the water, the water underneath the yin wood, that is supporting creativity. Yin wood corresponds with the west sector, and it's the creativity sector. It's creative problem solving sector. It is, when you have the water element there too, it's really all about helping people get unstuck. There's all kinds of great information in the little guidebook here, but every month I try to find just one little snippet out of it so that everybody can really see kind of what's happening. This particular card talks a lot about arguments and being stuck in your way and just that rigidness. And with too much rigidity, there can never be any coming together. Again, the yin wood top line, that's the piece that's showing up outside. In order to maximize our connectedness, we all have to become a little bit more flexible. So because so much of this reading here talks about reunification and dissolving rigidity and how much patience it takes, etc., this particular piece I thought was pretty profound. It says, it is pointless to attempt reunification while any of the parties are still suffering from emotional chaos. It's a little like trying to hit a bullseye from the other side of a busy freeway blindfolded. You could stand there forever shooting arrows and never get close to the mark. But this is the kind of childhood nonsense that the ego often proposes when it is scrambling to appear on top of the situation and save face. Note that term, save face. It's going to come up again. Forget the face and allow yourself to simply be equal to the situation rather than on top of it. Oh my goodness, so many people are trying to get, one up somebody else, that more, or that your way is the best way, and there's, everybody else is stupid. That's not going to help. It's never going to help. The line 4, okay, so just so that we kind of go back here and take a look at that. Again, the way that these lines are counted are from the bottom up. So the line 4, see right here, is the broken line. That, because that's the focus line, that means that it's more of an internal look. So all of us will benefit by going a little bit more internal to examine where our personal blind spots are, I guess. Says some people can get so fixed into an us and them attitude that even the most casual conversation turns into a tennis match. If you can see that this is what is happening right now, chances are you are the best person to call off the game and remind everybody what good sportsmanship is all about. This might not be through direct confrontation, but more likely through an act of persuading all the players to join in a new game that everybody can appreciate and support. I'm actually seeing this happen in certain groups, specifically here in the United States. We've obviously got a gun issue, gun control, gun proliferation. Too many people are dying. And that is one thing that we can all agree on. What I'm starting to see, though, is more people are beginning to circle back to what is safety for them. And that is the number. And so when we can reframe it, perhaps, what is the core value? Maybe this is not the one to like jump right into, but any other kind of discussion. What is the core emotion? What is the core need that both sides are not feeling is getting met? And if people can start to look at it from that perspective, so and not get so hung up on all the other details, then they can perhaps come at another thing. And again, the simple fact is, it's all going to be changing anyway. So lighten up. It's tough to get too attached to things when you know it's going to eventually change, good, bad, or otherwise. The next card is number 28. This one is called excess. And excess, we have for this hexagram here, the bottom trigram is sun, which is yin wood. Remember, we had that one before. That was the top trigram on the previous card. But this one, the top trigram, is dui, and it's the yin metal expression. The focus line on this is number 6, which again, going from the bottom up, it's again another broken line. So it's again about us looking internally. Of course, everything internal does get influenced by the external, but the external very much gets impacted by our mindset. So excess, this card, the words are stress, overload, exhaustion, obsessiveness, gluttony, burdens, worries, and the breaking point. I kind of do on the gluttony part because it's summertime, and man, I have a hard time not getting really gluttonous around all the delicious fresh fruits and vegetables. And anyway, but take a look at that poor guy with all of those burdens on his back. Think about all of that as outdated beliefs, as ideas that you've just been going on rote, that there's no real thinking as to, well, why does he need a twig holding up a rock on the top? I don't understand, and maybe he doesn't understand either. And the fact that several of these, so many of them, they are balanced so precariously that identifying the one piece that isn't really working anymore, and you remove that, how many more things, how many more burdens end up getting released? That is certainly food for thought. Remember the saving face piece? Okay, so I guess the original I Ching texts, we looked at this and used the analogy of a tent pole that had so much weight on top of it that eventually it snapped. We're starting to see that a lot in life. We've all have had our moments when you've had it up to here and you crater. And when you either choose when you pause, or the pause is forced upon you. I know I certainly had that pause forced upon me. In fact, 20 years ago, yesterday, was on June 6th was when I felt it felt like an ice pick that was stabbing my left breast. And I was 36. I was too young. I followed up though. It was cancer. So 20 years ago, yesterday, was the beginning of my tent pole breaking, when I began to understand that I had a lot of outdated ideas and expectations that nobody else was putting on me, that I was doing it myself because it was habit and it was an inherited pattern or patterns. Anyway, that's a whole different story. But when it comes to this, let's see. It is talking about that it's really talking about stress, and how stress is what happens when we get caught up in the drive for more, and whatever that happens to be, and how when we're out of touch with the real needs for our natural self, that the mind comes in and takes charge. And whatever that mind says is what it needs, what is the enough? Is it fame, money, sex, power, clothes, shoes? I don't know. You tell me. It's insatiable. The mind is insatiable, and it wants what it wants, regardless of the consequences to anybody else. But that is actually a lot of stress, and that stress then shows up on with the physical body, the physical nature of us. it will end up degrading us. I mean, and causing us to collapse, for our tent pole to break. We are seeing it actually on a large scale version with our Earth and the climate change, global warming. I mean, it's very evident when you start to look at it from that perspective. But here, where did that go? It says life becomes much. Okay, hold on a second. Life becomes much more efficient when we are in touch with our own natural rhythms and needs. Whether you call it meditation, reflection, or contemplation, it's vital to take time to, oh no, I'm sorry, wrong paragraph. Start over. The key to learning the lessons that lie within a situation of excess is to look in the mirror with unwavering honesty. There is no need for confessions, blame, or shame. And by not attempting to save face, same word, there we go, the artificial facade crumbles and all that is extraneous falls away. After all, the weight of all of that greed for more can get pretty heavy. And once it's no longer calling the shots, everything will begin to feel lighter, more flexible, and more spontaneous. I know I'd get there someday. And then specifically for that top line, that number 6 says, sometimes we get overloaded because we have taken on too much of the new without being willing to let go of the old. Have a look to see if you are carrying something from the past, however precious it was. It might no longer be in your best interest to carry. If it's not, see if you can find the strength to let it go. That's where professional organizers and feng shui consultants come in. So I'm not the organizer, but I'm sure you have one in your life. And if you don't, I'm sure that we can find one for you. But that's kind of what's happening here with the excess. It's, again, it always comes back to reevaluation. It always comes back to, what are you being conscious about what's in your world? The next card was this number 55, and it's called abundance. And these, again, the trigram here on the bottom, we have fire, and up here is the yang wood element. So we've got Li and Zhen. And again, think about this. To me, this is like, oh, we're going to just put another log on the fire because we're going to have this beautiful campfire it's going to be big enough to house everybody, and it's awesome. The words on this are plenty, profusion, generosity, fertility, ripeness, inner riches, reaping rewards, culmination, and harvest. And oh, doesn't she just look so happy? She's got just this glow about her, but because that is what abundance here is all about. The focus line on this is number 2. Again, the broken line. We are really being called to go inside and take a look at our stuff. The number 55, it's the general vibe of this particular one is, you've worked really hard. You've made it. You've gotten to that point where, in some aspect of your life, something is actually working well. It's going good. And this card is asking us to all take a look at what that is, to appreciate it. Maybe it is something simple at, like, you planted something in a pot and you remember to water it. And so it's growing and it's thriving. It's abundant. It could be that everything else feels like it's going to shit in a handbasket, pardon me. But that one thing, you can appreciate the abundance that's going on there. It is also a reminder that when you are experiencing those kind of things, it is appreciate it, recognize it. Don't squander any of those opportunities that are coming your way. Maybe you just got a new job, or maybe you got a raise. Well, now take that abundance and don't just, pilfer, poof it away. Do something with it, invest it, save it. But above all, don't squander it. Okay. The thinking small is not an abundance mindset. I do have a problem sometimes, though, with this idea that, oh, well, you just have to spend money to make money. Sometimes you actually do need to not spend the money. There's a balance there to balance the rationalism and the realism with some of that toxic positivity that can, kind of sneak in sideways in some of the things out there. But it is here, I'll just read this. They're saying it better than me. Partaking of the abundance that is Tao means spreading your wings, opening your windows, unlocking your heart and your thinking. It is only possible from an attitude of receptivity. If you're shut down inside, no matter what you've got, it's never going to be enough or bring you joy and peace of mind. Whenever your perspective shifts, even for a moment, from slim pickings mode, scarcity mindset, life becomes an opportunity for renewal. Then you can have some cake and eat it too. We all have those moments. I had that moment yesterday where I kind of had a shutdown. Again, of course, yesterday was a little bit more of that, one of those anniversary dates that like to pop up and remind you that, oh, perhaps I do need to honor some of that, and then I can move forward. But again, line 2 says the only way to ever really know and experience a sense of well-being is to take responsibility for both these subtle and overt messages that you're sending out into life. Waiting for it to arrive in the mail or to happen once you win the lottery is taking the risk of waiting your life away. Your future is in your hands and your heart and in your thoughts right now. Be bountiful with yourself because nobody else can be responsible for your joy. So you remember how I mentioned yesterday that I was kind of having that stinking thinking in the morning? I ended up getting rewarded that night with a free membership to an organization just because I invited some friends to join me. It just tickled me. It just tickled me. The last one that I did not expect, again, this was the fourth card, because normally I just do the 3. This one, it insisted on joining the party. Number 5, waiting. Waiting. An image of a pregnant woman. Anybody who's ever been around a pregnant woman, or a pregnant person, because the reality is there are transgender men who still have all the plumbing and they still get pregnant. And so that is why we switched the language to transgender, to pregnant person. Don't get your panties in a twist. I'm just saying what's out there. Waiting for those last months or the last weeks before you give birth are excruciating. It is just, it's a mess. Your body's a mess, your hormones a mess, and everything is not in the right place. And it can be very aggravating. So when you've got this hexagram here on the bottom, you've got yang metal, the qian, with water on top, the kan. So if you think about a container, it's almost like you've got the bowl, this underneath with the water waiting on top. You can't exactly move that container if it's full very quickly. I mean, how many times have you tried to walk across the room with a cup of hot coffee and not spill anything? You can't move fast. You have to wait. You have to be patient. So waiting here says perseverance, take care of essentials, restraint, leave well enough alone. Maybe you don't have to walk across the room. Maybe just sit there for a second. Moderation and right timing. This focus line is number 5. This time, this is the only one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the solid line. That means that it's an externally motivated reason to wait. If you want to frame this around the abortion, the Supreme Court abortion rights, the Roe versus Wade opinion that was leaked, we are all in a waiting period. We have to wait to see what actually happens. Does that mean we have to all get our panties in a twist? Does that mean we all have to, go and protest? I don't know, make your voice heard one way or the other. That's up to you. But we're in a space where we get to go and make any real changes because we're waiting on something outside. What other stuff is happening? Like if we're getting back to Texas, we are all waiting to see if our electric grid will hold up to all of these excessively high temperatures. I don't know. We'll see. But number 5 on the waiting thing, it was because it was the 5th line. It says, really living in synchronicity with the flow of Tao requires self-awareness and alertness to the rhythms of change. When the opportunity arises to take a breather, make sure you take full advantage of it. Enjoy the rest, but remember not to fall asleep. There is still much more to come that will demand your total attention when it does. So, the most hardcore athlete knows that in order to be able to achieve their goal, they have to rest their body. They have to be patient with their physical abilities. There's a time to push and a time to rest. It's like right here, it says, life is not working against you now. In fact, it never works against any of us. We are challenged in a myriad ways throughout the whole of our lives to find a sincere yes to what life provides, but this needs maturity, and maturity means being able to take a detached overview that is concerned not primarily with outcomes or goals, but with understanding and awareness in the journey towards them. It's not quite right yet for some big change to happen. It's like going back to what I first talked about this being the Yang Fire Horse Month. Yes, the horses are in the starting gate, and there's that anticipation of, okay, we're almost ready to go. It's almost, but the gates have not been opened yet. We're having to pause. We're having to gather ourselves, but we also have to make sure that we don't expend too much energy during this waiting period. Otherwise, we'll waste our abundance. We'll find ourselves overburdened and dispersing energy that doesn't need to be dispersed when we should be relaxing and calming everybody else down, so we're all ready to go achieve what it is that we want to achieve. So that is a lot of information for June. It is going to be a fascinating month. And my last word on this is, if you're finding yourself overwhelmed, I've got some information in the notes for you to book a session or just go for a swim. Because in my opinion, water cures a lot of things. A lot of things. Maybe it's just a shower. Showers are good too, but go for a swim. That's always a good thing. Anyway, happy June and early July, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye.